You're listening to Greater LA on KCRW, the show that connects you to the people and places of Southern California. Hey there, I'm Steve Chiotakis. Let's go shopping for books today in this old bank building? Well, that's what it looks like on the outside. There are hundreds of thousands of books on the inside.
Well, I got to put in the backpack. Oh. You're good, that's good.
That's Richard Powell. He works here at the Last Bookstore, checking guests in and occasionally giving first-time visitors a walkthrough.
Well, the building's over 100 years old. It used to be a bank, so there's a real bank vault down there by the children's section with classic books, stuff that I read when I was small.
The Last Bookstore is located on Spring Street near Pershing Square in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. Even if you haven't been here, chances are it's popped up on your Instagram feed once or twice. People love to take pictures of its book-adorned archways and sculptures made of paperback novels. And back before the times of masks and social distancing, the shop would be packed on the daily with tourists and locals. And then, of course, came COVID-19.
When the store was closed, it was like a ghost town in here.
That is employee Tim Pronovost.
You miss the chatter and the people talking and everything.
But even as other indie shops warn customers that they're doomed to close, the Last Bookstore's fate is not as apocalyptic as the store's name suggests. KCRW's Jackie Sedley has the story.
After spending an hour or two in the Last Bookstore, swimming in a sea of new and used titles, you can see why people still come here at a time like this. Here's one local customer, Sachin Jain.
I think you do forget that you're in a pandemic because, those of us who are readers, you get lost in a book. And so, this is a place where you can come and take your intellectual curiosity and get lost.
The owner, Josh Spencer, is a bookworm too.
I just sort boxes of books. It's like Christmas every day. I never know what I'm going to get. Every day I learn something new and find books that I've never seen before. So it's really the best kind of job for someone with my personality.
Spencer suspects he's collected nearly 1 million books. But that's just a guess. It's hard to keep track, after all, when you've been at it for 20 years. Some books are stored in a warehouse downtown, others in an even larger warehouse in Northridge, and the rest are here at the Last Bookstore. About the name, by the way, it's hard to ignore the painful irony of calling your store the Last Bookstore, but in reality, Spencer named it back in 2007, way before the pandemic.
I've always been sort of into post-apocalyptic books and films and everything, so I was like, oh, we'll be the Last Bookstore, and I literally thought that I was opening a store just to have a store for the last few years that bookstores were able to exist. Thankfully, history has, taken a turn where people proved to be more loyal to the paper book than previously thought.
Now, no amount of customer loyalty could stave off the financial threats of COVID-19. Yet, Spencer could be the poster child for remaining calm in a crisis. He's a roll-with-the-punches kind of guy, which has helped him since the very start of his book-selling business.
Originally, I sold books online just for like 10 years or so before I ever opened a store, and that was done first in downtown in a loft. At the time, I was able to get a massive loft for really, really low rent.
When the lease for that space ended, his friend introduced him to a mysterious old abandoned bank building with no signage in sight. He couldn't resist. Fast forward 10 years, and Josh Spencer now co-owns the Last Bookstore with his wife, Jenna Spencer. Together, they've been treating the pandemic as somewhat of a creative opportunity.
We had to close, we ran out of money, we had to lay off most of our staff, and it was really tough and surprising. But we're also both very resilient people and creative people, so immediately we took on the challenge of, well, how can we survive this, and what can we do to still get books into people's hands?
Back in April, Jenna Spencer devised the idea that ultimately kept the Last Bookstore kicking. She decided to offer curated book bundles, more or less mini libraries based on customers' interests.
We're still doing that now, but that did really well in the beginning just because people were all stuck at home and they wanted books, and we basically were doing their shopping for them. They would just tell us what they like, and then we would create a stack of books for them.
They've also been renting out their 2-story bank vault turned bookstore for weddings, proposals, and other small-scale events after business hours. That's brought in some money, but not enough to bring them back to pre-pandemic earnings. Since March, they've lost 2/3 of their staff, majority of their sales, and their money-making weekends. But as you can hear in the tone of Josh Spencer's voice, he's yet to lose his cool.
I would say we're still overall losing money and creating more debt for ourselves. Our sales are down 80%, so I don't want to downplay the direness of the situation. I'm just someone who, whenever anything negative or challenging comes my way, I tend to take it as in a positive spirit.
Spencer's energy is infectious. Between him, his wife Jenna, and their employees, no one on staff seems hopeless about the Last Bookstore's future. Thanks to their creative projects, benevolent landlord, and government business loans, the bookstore is safe for now. They let in about 50 people at a time, so long as they have their masks on, and the line's been out the door the past couple Saturdays. Spencer doesn't know if they'll make it through the pandemic, but, unsurprisingly, he's made his peace with that.
Even if the Last Bookstore does fail, like, it's okay with me. I mean, it's been an awesome 10 years, and I'm glad that people enjoyed it, and I'm proud of what we created. Hopefully people will still continue to support us and keep us alive through, going to our website and our web store and social media. But even if we can't make it through this, I'll know that we did our best, and that's good enough for me. I don't think everything has to last forever.
As you exit the bookstore, there's a sign above the door frame that reads, "You are now re-entering the real world." And in times like these, it's nice to know the Last Bookstore is still here, offering plenty of ways to avoid reality. For KCRW, I'm Jackie Sedley.